Zach Edey is a National Player of the Year frontrunner and currently dominating college basketball. And being such a polarizing figure, obviously he has his haters just like any other player. And their favorite argument against Edey is that he is just tall. And today I would like to prove that argument wrong. The first thing I would like to do is look at other D1 players that are his size, so guys 7'4" and above. I will even include 7'3" players. First off, all of them but maybe one or two do not play on contending teams or teams that would even make the tournament in the first place. So, that's just something to note. There are 7 players who are 7'3" and above that are not named Zach Edey. And out of those 7, the leading scorer is senior Connor Vanover at 13.5 points per game. He is 7'5", but something worth noting is that he plays at Oral Roberts. Not exactly the highest level of competition. The leading rebounder is senior Jamario Sharp at 7.2 rebounds. He is 7'5" and plays at Western Kentucky, so a bit higher level of competition than Oral Roberts. And the highest field goal percentage is Jamario Sharp again at 60%. Only 3 of these guys are regular rotation players. None of them rank in the top 150 in points per game. 1 is tied at 150 for rebounds per game, while the rest are not even in the top 150, and 1 is 89th in field goal percentage, while most of the others don't even qualify to be ranked. And just to compare this to Zach Edey, he averages 22 points per game, which ranks 4th, 13 rebounds, which ranks 2nd, and 61.7% from the field, which ranks 16th. So, as you can tell, when comparing Zach Edey to other players around his size, he is by far the best. You might say as a counter-argument that Edey is getting more shot attempts and playing time than those 7 players, which is true. But the reason he is getting more shot attempts and playing time is because he plays better than them. So if Edey was just tall, then he would obviously not be as dominant as he is. But if you are still not convinced, then let me give you more evidence as to why Zach Edey is actually a talented basketball player and not just tall. First, I would like to talk about Zach Edey's hands. If you've ever played basketball before, then you know when shooting a layup, it is preferable to have a soft touch and let the ball roll off your hand with enough force to make it, but not too much force. Zach Edey has perfected this. When Zach shoots a hook shot or a layup, you can see his soft touch. He doesn't rush the shot, lets the ball roll off his hand nicely, and places it on the square of the backboard like every first grade basketball coach teaches. It's very simple, but impressive that he is very consistent at it and doesn't rush his shot even when being double teamed. Another thing to note is that he is one of the few high-level basketball players who use a hook shot. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who popularized the hook shot, has said that it's a very easy way of scoring and he doesn't know why nobody uses it. Well, Zach Edey has taken that to heart and uses his form of a soft hook several times during a game. But the main thing you hear most analysts and people compliment Zach Edey on is his footwork and his positioning. But nobody really explains why it's good. So let me elaborate on that. Zach's footwork is nice because, for example, he uses jab steps to fake, makes the defender jump, which then creates space for him to get a layup. Does his height help him with this? Yes, obviously. Most centers use their height in those situations. That doesn't make him tall for nothing. Zach's positioning is good also because he is a smart basketball player. He's usually in the right place at the right time. Whenever a shot is put up on offense or defense, Zach crashes down, if he wasn't there already, to get the rebound or putback. Again, does his height help him with this? Yes, obviously. But again, all big men need their height in that instance. Now, when it comes to Zach's shot blocking, that's a bit more debatable. Yes, his shot blocking ability is not because he's a talented shot blocker like a Miles Turner or an Isaiah Jackson, that type of player. It is because he just towers over everybody. But still, there is a level of impressiveness, as he has some games where he has like 4 blocks, which is pretty impressive. But when it comes to Zach's scoring and rebounding, he is just as talented as any other big in college basketball. It's not just because he's 7'4". You don't have 6 30-point games just because you're tall, and you don't average over 60% from the field just because you're tall. I feel like as a basketball community, we underestimate how difficult those feats are. Averaging a double-double on good consistency is impressive at any level, really. And because we've gotten so used to players putting up these numbers, we think that all you need to do is be tall to put up those numbers. And that does work at some levels, but usually once you get to D1 basketball and above, you need some kind of skill to be this dominant. Hence why Zach wasn't this dominant his freshman and sophomore year. If Zach was just tall, then he would have been doing this stuff since he was a freshman. And yeah, he was all Big Ten last year, and he's always been a solid player, but he was never this dominant. And a lot of people like to bring up that he gets foul calls and that the refs are in his favor. But if you've ever watched Zach Edey from his freshman and sophomore year, and if you've ever listened to a Purdue fan talk about Zach Edey his freshman and sophomore year, you knew that the refs mistreated him badly. He would never get calls, he would get into foul trouble a lot of the times, and he would get hacked and demolished in the post, and no whistles would be blown. So this season, this dominant National Player of the Year season, is a product of Zach Edey's hard work. And while I don't know what the future holds for him in the NBA, whether he declares this year or next year, I do know that he is already a legend in West Lafayette. And that is an accomplishment in its own right. I'm Limitless Polls. I'd like to thank you for watching yet another video. If you are new, please subscribe for more content like this. And if you still think that Zach Edey is just tall, I don't even know what's going to convince you at this point.
Same fucking bitches, got the chopsticks with his stitches on my dick, cause I like that.